Overwatch has been a topic of much hype as far as PC shooter games go the past year or so. Made by the highly esteemed Activision-Blizzard with drones to blot out the sun, general expectations were high despite it being their first entry in the first-person shooter genre. I was actually lucky enough to get in the long-running closed test last year, but I didn't enjoy playing the game alone too much, and thus I didn't play it enough to form a comprehensive opinion on it until the recent open beta. I got maybe 5 to 10 hours of gameplay in during the closed beta, and I wasn't impressed, but it was only after the 30 plus hours of gameplay during the extended open beta weekend that I really started to realize just what exactly it was I didn't like about the game. You see, based on my initial experience, I would have simply called the game a dumbed down, casual Team Fortress 2 and left it at that. Since this was just my first impression, I couldn't have backed this opinion up with too much more, and it was hardly enough to make a video about. After playing the game a lot more, I now have a much more informed opinion on it. One that isn't just based on first impressions, but dozens of hours of gameplay. Overwatch isn't just a casual, dumbed down TF2. No, its issues run a bit deeper than that. That isn't to say that it's neither of those things, because it is. It's very much casual, made to be easily approachable by a wide audience, and in a lot of aspects it's just a simpler TF2. That's not the real issue though. Simply put, Overwatch is too much of a MOBA. It took me longer than it probably should have to realize this, considering it should be painfully obvious from just looking at how the game is structured. You've got a bunch of heroes, and each hero has 2 to 4 basic abilities and a special and very powerful ultimate ability. Sound familiar? On paper, this sounds like a novel idea, and it is. There's no fundamental reason this is a bad way to design a game. However, as is often the case, the devil is in the details. Overwatch takes on aspects of both FPS and MOBA games, but in combining those it just goes wrong. Neither of these individual aspects are properly fully represented in Overwatch. It's like a flat combination of two genres, with the lows of both and the highs of neither. As an FPS, it's simply boring. The gunplay is simplistic and has a dissatisfyingly low element of skill to it. Many characters have weapons that literally auto-aim for you, and the majority of the remaining ones either have massive spread, massive spammability, or both, which reduces the importance of accuracy dramatically. This makes for gunplay where it's difficult to tell a good player from a bad one, and almost impossible to tell a great player from just a good one. As a MOBA, it doesn't fare much better. The characters do generally play very differently from each other, which is good. Most of them carve out their own little niche in their class, and there's a surprising amount of different microplay styles crammed into them. The issue is that this doesn't matter much in the grand scheme of things, and the reason for this lies in the ultimates. The ultimates are incredibly unimaginative, but also incredibly impactful, and the over-emphasis on them ends up ruining almost the entire game. The majority of the ultimates are huge AoE weapons of mass destruction that take almost no skill and little consideration to use, and their usage is the single thing that decides the course of games. You and your entire team can be absolute mechanical gods, but there is nothing you will be able to do if the enemy team pushes with multiple ultimates while you have zero. This would be fine in a plain old MOBA game, but this is still supposed to be an FPS game at its core, and the maps and objectives reflect that. The map design is often a series of simplistic corridors with many choke points and few alternate paths, which makes the press button, receive kills ultimate gameplay that much more frustrating. What I really detest is how deceptive the game is about this. The entire game is designed around giving players a lot of gratifying outplay moments, even if they aren't actually good enough to outplay their opponents. Ultimates like McCree's and Soldier 76's aimbots, or Junkrat's and Pharah's massive AoE death machines are an easy example of this, But it also goes for things like Roadhog's almost impossible to miss hook, or the entire character of Reinhardt, who has the mechanical complexity of smite guards while being almost necessary for capturing and holding points. Or Hanzo's spammable arrows with a massively large hitbox that, get this, literally home in on enemies. After all that, it has to be said that from a purely technical perspective, Overwatch is a very well done game. Minor issues like poor server tick rate aside, the engine runs extremely well, giving me a stable 130 FPS with everything completely capped out, and the overall experience is highly polished. The main issue is that the game is just so, for lack of a better term, casual, and this comes at the cost of making it less enjoyable to seasoned FPS veterans like myself. It can still be a fun game, but if you are the kind of player who prefers it when countless of hours of mechanical practice pay off, Overwatch might not be the game for you.